Hello. Good morning, ladies. Hi, can you all hear me? Okay, good morning. Welcome to our February meeting of Book Club. We've got a great presentation coming up with the wonderful Four Winds book, which I heard the winds blowing from the PowerPoint as I was coming up. We've got some updates for you. First, we need to go vote on the secretary's minutes from the last meeting, which have been posted on the door. Can I have a motion for passing them? Motion and everybody in favor of passing them? Okay, the minutes have passed. I am going to have Joan. Is Joan here? Yes. Oh, there you are. I'm going to ask Joan to come up and just give you some last minute updates on the book stroll, which, as you know, is next Friday.
And if you look into the, oh, is this on? Okay, if you look into the Live Oak Room, we are off to a great start. I mean, I just can't believe every year there's just like always a supply of books. So thank you, because this does take a village to make this book stroll a success. And I just thank the book club for asking me to be in charge of this. I mean, it has been fun. I'm meeting lots of people. I'm putting names to faces, and I've got Suzanne. She's helping me out, Judy Green. So thank you. And it really makes me appreciate the Stonebridge staff that's helping. Again, they're giving us people to bring all the books over on Thursday and tables for setting up in the garages. And I have to thank Dodson's and Rushocks and Flemings for offering their garage again. I mean, it's just great to see all the camaraderie and working together. We do need 10 more people for volunteering throughout the day. So if you're available, you can talk with Suzanne after the meeting. And we will be sending out, the schedule this weekend to let everyone know who has volunteered where they're, where to report at what time and what garage. So thank you very much. Yes.
How much time do you want from somebody volunteering? 2 hours. 2 hour shifts? 2 hours.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
if you're in the last shift, it's not going to be that long.
Yes. So, another question? Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, but thank you very much. It's going to be another great success.
And yeah, it's only 2 hours, so it goes by quickly. Okay, and next we're going to discuss our author's luncheon. I received great news yesterday that from Kristin Harmel's publicist that Kristin will appear in person. So I am just thrilled. She has one stipulation, and that is if you're coming up to the table to have her either sign your book or buying a book for her to sign, she asks that people approach her with a mask on. That is her only stipulation. So, we will know, Tim from the clubhouse will be making a decision by February 16th on the size of the event. He says, fingers crossed, it's looking good. And so just keeping my fingers crossed, and as soon as we know, we will let all of you know. Hopefully that we are open at capacity. And we're going to talk about our no raffle. again, Laura, do you want to come up and talk about that? As you know, we did this last year. We just, instead of doing the baskets, we just had a raffle of money donated right to our charities.
So we have envelopes here, if any, that I will have. If you'd like one to put your donation into, and you can either give it to me today or send it. Mary's got her address on it. Mary Warlop and I are doing it together, and we'll collect them. We're just not going to have the baskets because of COVID and so forth. So hopefully we can do just as well. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oh, we don't have a treasurer's report for today, but I just want to make sure that everyone who's attending has paid their dues. Otherwise, we'll continue that report later. I know, let's see, the charities. Yes, Aline. And you're the woman I left. Didn't I leave you out last time?
Not really. You try.
I tried.
Okay, so LVCC, reading video books. Can do it again, Live Oak Room, on Mondays. It's starting on the 21st of this month, and then the 2nd March. Then we'll go on to 3/21 and 4/4. But we don't need to do those two right now. Samantha was having trouble getting a hold of you guys when we tried this before. So I do have a list here of the dates and the times. And if you have a book already, would you please sign up again? Sorry. But we'll give you a time and a place, a date, but I think that's all perfect. Okay. And Leslie Winters? No, that's you? Why here? What do you mean? She's going to read it. Oh, okay. Never mind. My daughter, one person. Okay. So I'm 2 to 6 o'clock. So each person in this slot. Okay. Any questions? And I have 8 books left. One is in Spanish. So if you're bilingual, that's your book.
Suzanne is going to come up now.
Okay, I have a report from Grace Place. I spoke with Ashley Heck, and she was very thankful for the $400 donation that we made, the Give Where You Live in Collier, which was matched 20% this year. And she said the students in the Bright Beginnings program are doing wonderfully. The full-time 3- and 4-year-olds had great results from the mid-year assessments. 96% were proficient in language, 92% in literacy, and 89% in math, which is great. Of the mothers in the English classes, 50% have already met their year-end goal of 1 grade level of increase. And she did mention they're really in need of food in their food pantry because the supply chain problems, things aren't getting through and they don't get as much from the food banks as they used to. And that's it.
And I don't think,
Yes, she's here.
Jean there? She's here. Where are you? Oh, you are. Hi. Jean Fletcher's going to come up and talk about Nichols Park Elementary.
Naples Park Elementary had its annual book fair parent night, and they had a wonderful turnout. And I received wonderful pictures of the exhibits that they did. And the reason I want to tell you that is because a lot of the money that we gave them was for books. And then the students acted out some of the books and were able to show their parents how much they had improved in their reading. So they are always so thankful. The reading specialists and the librarian always just send me these wonderful emails about, thank you, you're so wonderful, Stonebridge. And of course, once in a while, they put that up on the board on the way to the beach. You'll see, thank you, Stonebridge Book Club. So thank you, and we hope we raise some good money to give to them again. Oh, and I have a Four Winds book that I am returning. People are going to give the book there. But if anyone here hasn't read it and wants it, you're welcome to have it before I put it in there. Good.
Thank you, Jean. All right, I'm going to ask Sarah Drogan, our Vice President, to come up, and she is going to introduce us to the book and the presenter today.
Good morning. I have two requests before I introduce Barbara Chandler, our speaker. The first request is for suggestions for our summer reading list. Some of you have already emailed me your recommendations, and I will be passing around a clipboard with several sheets on it for you to write down your suggestions today. I will compile the list. Carol Henry will email it to you in April, and those of you who are in attendance at the April meeting will receive a hard copy. The second request is for presenters and reviewers for next season. Presenters generally talk for 40 minutes, and they give us a deep dive into a book. Reviewers talk for 20 minutes each, and they whet our appetites for the book. Don't be shy about volunteering. Our speaker today, Barbara Chandler, is a volunteer. Last spring, I received word that a woman I did not know, Barbara Chandler, had been smitten by a book, The Four Winds. I had not read it, and was volunteering to speak to us. That was thrilling news to me. So, no pressure, Barbara. So the last page of the clipboard has room for you all to sign up to volunteer for next year. So thank you. Barbara Chandler. Barbara and her husband Carlton bought their home in Stonebridge just in time to celebrate Barbara's 50th birthday 23 years ago. Brave woman. Today, they still love and enjoy Stonebridge Country Club. They live in Massachusetts in a coastal town 30 miles south of Boston, where they both grew up, where they were each other's first dates, the May dance in junior high, where they continued as high school sweethearts, and where they have been married for 50 years. They have 3 daughters and 8 grandchildren who are the greatest treasures and joys of their lives. Barbara has retired after selling real estate for 36 years, owning and operating a florist business, and renovating and building homes before flipping was the thing. In actuality, however, she will never be fully retired, since she and her husband are cranberry farmers, and they have an active horse riding business, Cranberry Acres Equestrian, which their daughter manages. There's always work to do. Barbara's passion for golf later in life afforded her the opportunity of playing many fine courses over the East Coast, but she still finds a thrill every time she tees off in Stonebridge. As for reading, Barbara contends that books take her on journeys that she never expected, and that she's easily absorbed in their adventures, whether on the beach, in a good chair by the fire, or on her lanai. Stonebridge is where she first joined a small, dynamic book club that has provided lots of laughter, good discussions, and many friendships. Although she doesn't get to the large book club as often as she likes, she's grateful to the women who work to make it a success. So, Barbara Chandler. And I will start the clipboard around now. You want this in place or do you want to? Okay, let's put it in place. Whoa, can you sort of, there you go.
Oh, you said I had to point it there, but forgot that. Are going to be confused. It's not going to take much. Good morning. The love of a book brings us all here today. All of us love being transformed into a character, taken to a place we have never been, opening our eyes and minds, removing ourselves for a few minutes, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours, and blessing us with the curiosity of not only our imagination, but that of the wonderful authors who can take us to places we have never, ever been. We are lost in another moment, another life. We breathe a little different. We let ourselves soar into another world, trying to find answers or figure out the messages being given. And just when we feel comfortable, when we have finished our adventure, closed our book, taken all that we have from the book, we sit in a small book club or a large book club like this, and all of a sudden, a new way to see a different point of view opens up our mind again to see, to feel, to realize a book has many, many facets, opens many doors, makes us see other possibilities. Welcome to just one person's thoughts on this beautifully written book, Four Winds. Kristin Hanna. It gives me great pleasure to introduce you to our author, Kristin Hanna. I watched about 4 videos of Kristin talking about herself, her story that led her into writing, and then how she found Elsa, what motivated her to tell us this story, this wonderful story, her 24th book. Kristin was born in 1960, lived in California, spending her time playing in the surf at California, laying in the warm sand and building castles. At the age of 8, her dad bought a van, packed her mom, 3 siblings, and a dog into the van and traveled parts of the United States and settled in Western Washington. Does the van sound familiar? If you've read The Great Alone. Kristin graduated from the University of Washington, worked in a trendy advertising agency, decided to go to law school, even as her mother's words, but you're going to be a writer. And those would be words that would carry with her. In her 3rd year of law school, her mom in the hospital, facing the end of her long battle with cancer. And it was there that for the next few months, Kristin and her mom collaborated on a novel. After her mom's passing, she packed up all their work, put it in a box in the back of her closet, and went on with her life. She got married and she practiced law. She was asked about being a lawyer and why did she think so many good writers at one time were lawyers. As she said, a lawyer looks for the specifics, learns to write as they spend much time writing and researching. Lawyers must be creative in how they present their facts and information, how they create their opening statement, and especially their closing arguments and thoughts, how they write very specific information and facts because they change laws. Personally, she considered it never being a lawyer. When Kristin became pregnant with her son, she needed to be bedridden for over 7 months. During that time, she says, she read every book in the house. And when she started reading the cereal boxes, her husband reminded her of a box that was hidden in the closet that she and her mother had worked on. So out came the box from the closet. And by the time her son was born, she had finished her first novel. In 1990, after her rejections, which she said only spurred her on to write, she received her first contract to write a book. Kristin's first book was published in 1993, and it's called If You Believed. Now follow this timeline. 1990, she receives offer to write. 1993, she publishes her first book. 1996, she's honored with the Golden Globe Heart, the Maggie Award, and the National Reader's Choice, and since then, many others. And now today, Four Winds is her 24th book. With my not so quick math, it means within 30 years, she has written 24 books. Four of which resoundingly have been received all over the world as some of the most amazing historical fictions. Winter Garden, Firefly Lane, The Nightingale, The Great Alone, and now Four Winds. When asked specifically about Four Winds, these are a few of the thoughts Kristin had leading her into the story. One, her book took her 1 year of research in formulating her thoughts. Her love of travel and the lack of knowledge of the Dust Bowl times, she and her husband drove the routes in the areas from the Great Plains to the Panhandles to driving Route 66 to see, to imagine this part of our country back in 1930s. It's a book of survival and the courage of women from the level of their hardships and their human spirit. Four, a woman writing about women and putting women at the forefront. It's what women endure and the price they will pay to protect those that they love. The book is intense, depressing, and eye-opening. As Kristin Hannah says, it's a book of hope. Hope that we all live for and pass it down through all women, through all generations. Kristin Hannah's Four Winds gives us everything we would want in a historical fiction. It's impactful, devastating, but always full of heart, resiliency, perseverance, hopelessness, courage, man's inhumanity to man, the human spirit, and yes, tears. A book that is relevant to our current situations today in many ways, especially now with the going on between Canada and the United States with the truckers. It's eerie how history does tend to repeat itself in various ways. And now, Kristin Hannah's Four Winds. What time? You know I can't do that. Why do you think you're sitting behind that? It's all right. Four, five, eight. Just a little more piece of it. That's okay. We can do it without it. This wasn't how I was going to get my time used up. Did it flip? Yep. Yep.
Show on TV when I fast forward.
So it won't work. That's fine. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. I think they get a pretty good feeling. And I'll take them to the rest of it. There's a little part of it that started the story, but it's more, you've heard the dust, you've heard the wind. So my first thing was going to be, when you see some of the signs, was, can you taste the dust? Can you feel the dirt stinging as it hits your face? Realize all of your hopes and dreams have turned to dust. Could you endure this way of life? This is a true story. This is historical fiction. 1920s, 100 years ago. 1930s, 92 years ago, our parents' era. 1920s, the Great War is over. Abundance in the land. Land is plentiful. America is ready for newness. 1930s, world changed. Depression hits. No work, no money. Country is stunned. But worse than that, drought devastates the Great Plains. Heat waves, 105 to 115 for days. Crops fail. Water, think water, dries up. Earth cracks open. It was 1931, the rain slowly stops. 5 inches of water the whole year. And it starts. Dust storms. Dust storms ran from 1930 through 1936. Years of dust. April 14th, 1935, they call it Black Sunday. The worst of the dust storms. They looked to the horizon and saw nothing but a huge black movement, cloud coming, and it was blacker than night. Over the years, 350 million tons of soil was blown across the plains, even reaching as far as the Atlantic Ocean. 250 million people left the plains. And it's not till 1939 did they finally have significant rain again. Kristin Hanna is a storyteller who fills you fully and develops her characters. Be whomever they are, she gives you vivid pictures of their struggles, and we get to know them well. When we meet Elsa in 1921, a young woman who has done nothing right in the eyes of her parents. No beau, no potential. 25 and considered an old maid, a spinster. Women were only good for marriage. Elsa wants to go to college, and her father said to her, "What need is there for you to be educated?" She never ran as a kid, she never played, and she never danced. She wanted a life, not an existence. She's a reader, like all of us, reading, imagining other people's adventures in life. And then she reads the book, The Age of Innocence, and it all begins. She's alive. Her body's alive. Rafe Martinelli. Now, Rafe is all of 18 years of age, handsome. He had another road he was taking, not her, not a baby. Rafe was a dreamer. He hated the farm, the work, the same over and over again. He was thrilled when he didn't have to go to college. That was his parents' dream. His parents have sacrificed for a better life for him, their future, Rafe to be an American and educated. He's going to be the first Martinelli to go to college. His dreams were a dreamer's dream. High adventures, travel, all the different places he could live. The farm suffocated him. Being selfish, Rafe only thought about Rafe. What he did not have instead of what he had. He feels trapped. One mistake he's caught changes his life forever. He'll never be what he had planned to be. Rafe hears the cry of the times, "Go west, young man, go west, the land of milk and honey." He does what's best for him, he leaves. There are many other characters in this book along this journey. What did you think about Tony and Rose Martinelli? Rose, a mother who loves her son. She's buried 3 babies. But in time, she must realize his shortcomings. As she told Elsa, he was a shooting star and blinded me with his light. I wanted him to know love, prosperity, and be an American. What damage I did by loving too much. You, Elsa, your parents, did it to you by loving too little. She accepted Elsa because that's what you did. She's a pregnant woman, she accepts her. Oh, but what she gives Elsa. In time, everything a mother would give her daughter. The bonds of friendship, family, persevering through all the situations, no matter what you face. And her greatest gift was love, a love Elsa had never had. Because of Rose, Elsa loved the farm and finds her place there. She loves the hard work, learning to cook all those wonderful Italian dishes that are described to us through the book that Rosa made. Cleaning and scrubbing till her hands were red, growing gardens, planting flowers, watching her children go, standing in the fields and seeing mile after mile of wheat wafting in the breeze. Loretta and Anthony, but we call him Aunt, going to school, being educated. She wanted all the wonderful parts of being a family together that she had never had. She knew what growing up in a household where love never was, and she was not going to do that to her children. But she could not find her voice, speak her thoughts, or tell anyone what she felt. Rose knew, as only a mother would know about her daughter. Tony, so proud of this beautiful American life, a family to carry on the legacy he and Rose created, making that sacrifice of leaving their country for a better life. A penny found outside of Rose's door on the floor when they were leaving. A coin that was their hope for a better life. A direction. 2 sheaves of wheat on the backside of the penny was Tony and Rosie's belief that fate was directing them to their promised land. America. The land will bind us together from one generation to another. And told Elsa on the birth of her daughter, his grandchild, to Loretta, now you are bound to me. Elsa's children, Loretta, hard, brutally judgmental when it came to her mother. Blinded by her adoration of her father, she wanted to dream along with him all those beautiful dreams that he filled her heads with. And she knew they were not Elsa's dreams. She blamed her mother for everything. Loretta didn't want love, being trapped by love. She wanted to fly high, to go on it anywhere, go do anything at any time. Many times she acts out just to be disruptive, often putting others and herself in danger. But behind the teenagers, as many of us here can relate to, she has learned and listened. Not only to Tony, who taught her many little things to help them survive their journey. Think about the truck breaking down. It was Loretta who knew how to fix and knew what to do. And from Elsa, how to find her voice. Ant, he was just a boy. He wants to play, to laugh, to cuddle. It's interesting how Kristin Hanna draws Ant into the story and makes the book move forward. Dust pneumonia. Years of drought have ravaged the Martinelli's farm, leaving them near to the point of starvation. When Rafe abandons them, destroying so many hopes and dreams of Elsa, Rose, Tony, and young Loretta. Elsa begins to find her voice. Adding to the drought, the dust storms, day after day, then year after year. Dust, beyond our imagination. The land is stripped from farming, layers of topsoil gone, heat, day after day after day of unending heat. But in the dust storms, people couldn't work their land. Livestock died with their bodies filled with dirt. Homes were abandoned, banks foreclosing on the mortgages, and people were starving. Elsa comes to start wondering, can they survive another year? Their food supply is about empty, and we hear about her going down and picking up the food that she would want, and so much of it that they had, and the animals, so much. She now must decide whether to stay and fight for the land she, Rose, and Tony loved, or leave. But after Ant contracts dust pneumonia, Tony, Rose, and Elsa face the heartbreaking truth. Elsa must leave to save her children. So many have already left. They started driving, many of them walking to California in search for a better life. Work, clean air, a fresh start. Is California all that will make a new life healthy for Ant? Work for Elsa, schooling for the children. But again, clean air. The trip is miles and miles of the unknown. Many people have left, but nobody knows. Did they find the land of milk and honey? They're not sure. Oh, why is this page turned around? How do I do something 50 million times the right way and then I goof on it? There it is. Turned on. Sorry about that. Elsa, Loretta, and Ant are filling the truck with everything that Tony and Rose feel that they're going to need along their journey. A stove, a table, chair, bedding, little food that they had left. They packed it up for them, gave them water to at least get them started, and all the gas that was left for the truck. And then Tony and Rose turn to Elsa and tell her they can't leave their land, their American dream. Tony gives the money that the government paid the farmers for their last animals left on the farm. The farmers did not want it. They did not want to take that money. There was no monies left. Their animals are dead. The government, for the first time, stepped in and said, we will pay you for them live or dead. $16. That would help some people live. And he was hoping that that would be enough, the money, to get them to California. Rose takes the pouch she wears around her neck and gives it to Elsa. The coin, the penny, the symbol of their hope for the new and better life. Just as a penny had done for them, they tell Elsa to go, to save her children. And a journey that, if, and that's a big if, they can make it. She's alone, a woman alone with 2 children, going through the deserted towns, stopping on the side of the road, unsafe for anyone, fraught with danger and disaster. Desperate people along the way willing to do desperate things for themselves to survive. Hardly any money, food, water in the truck. Also prays that it will continue to work. And then the worst part of their trip, the Mojave Desert, the intense heat by day, the freezing nights. Along the way, they see them. Many cannot make it safely through. They are surrounded by death, lost hopes, and dreams of many. Elsa is at the end of wondering whether she is going to make it out with her children. And she makes it out of the desert and finally reaches the lush fields of California, the San Joaquin Valley, and she is hopeful for the first time in months. The will to live, the will to survive, because they are at the end of their journey, a better new life is beginning. Except they become part of the millions that desperately escaped the Depression and the Dust Bowl, all searching for the same thing. Instead, they become unwanted migrants in their own country. Okies, forced to live in squalor in tents or cardboard houses and camps, begging for work, starving, diseased, ostracized, and when they did find work, it was at the mercy of the big business farmers who treated their workers any way they wanted. You work for next to nothing. We'll take whatever you want and give you wages. You will buy only from our stores at our prices. If you don't like it, leave. There are many people out on the roadway willing to come in, and they will come in and they will work for less money. So out to the field, be whatever it was, at this time picking cotton, hour upon hour for a few cents. One wrong move, one problem, and they would come and take more of your money away. Deplorable and heart-wrenching, but true. It has been written by historians that Kristin did her homework. She writes the truth of how these times truly were. She writes about the people and what they need to go live through. And she still has the ability to weave a story. We all need a story to take the facts in. That's what the historical fiction does. It gives you all the facts, but there must be a story. And she prints a big, vivid picture of their life and their struggles. We feel their pain, their anxiety, their depression. We are in awe of them. As we get to know Elsa and Larita, we realize this is a story about the delicate dynamics of mother and daughter relationship. I have 3 daughters, I told you. Burdened by abandonment, poverty, and political and ecological tragedies, they draw strength from each other to face the dust storms, then the filthy migrant camps, the starvation, the life, the downtrodden life, the migrant workers. They together fight for survival and hope in a time and a place of death, destruction, and prejudice. Man's inhumanity to man. As Elsa's grandfather had told her years ago, don't worry about dying, Elsa. Worry about not living. Be brave. As Larita comes to see the many facets of life, family, and her mother, she realizes that one person can change the world or help. She sees her mother becoming more of a warrior, willing to protect her family, her friends, and her ideals at any cost. Meanwhile, Elsa discovers that motherhood had made her braver than she had ever dreamed of being. For a moment, think of Elsa. The condition she lives in. She came from a beautiful home. She had everything except family. How would you ever feel when all that you have which is really nothing, slides down the blackened hillside into the sewer-infested waters. And she's desperately trying to save their few belongings before they're floating down the river. And there went the money that she had saved working for a little amount of money. As we follow Elsa through the migrant camps, the days of cotton picking, and the huge landowner, Farmer Welty, who destroys the hopes and dreams of all those who have come to find a better life, to work hard to better their lives, but who Welty controls completely by lowering their measly wages, making them dependent on staying poor, having no voice, doing only what a group of wealthy farmers want. The time is coming to stand up and be heard. The devastating loss of Jean, Elsa's true and only friend she has ever had in her entire life, a friend. Her sisters didn't talk to her. The woman who showed Elsa how to survive, to help Elsa stay her course, and to believe in herself. When she frantically goes to the hospital to help save Jean, Elsa begs for aspirin, just aspirin. When they refused her, she grabs a bat and smashes the door and desk. What a move for Elsa. As they say, through loss, there comes strength. For Elsa, it was to stand up and fight for what's right. Not for outlandish things, but those basic needs. Education, food, housing, to be treated fairly, and an opportunity to work hard for a decent wage. Elsa is heartbroken as sadly Jean dies. It is then that Elsa asked Loretta where to find the unionizer. Something is being taken away from people. Every day I thought it taken. Earlier, Elsa had to sign up for a government handout. She did not want to. That's not her background. Only to find out it would not start until 1 year from the day she signs up. And when that time did come, most of the benefits were taken away because she did have that measly little job. She was working for something, so she did not qualify for most of everything. Loretta wants to believe and advocate what is right. Something to believe in, forward thinking that she will help change and make this world a little better. And this is where Loretta lets go of those dreamer dreams of her father. And she too finds her voice. She sees her mother as a fighter who does something completely out of character, a woman who is willing to cause trouble and threaten someone if it means helping someone she loves. So too does Elsa realize that unionizing is necessary. She has to do it. In her heart, it's right. What needs to be done for her and her family. Elsa talks to Jack Allen, and explains to him what has happened to her. She tells him she's ready to help organize the workers. Elsa has finally found her voice. Elsa is going to use her voice. Elsa shows her strength by stepping first in the fields when they were having a peaceful strike, a movement. As no man or woman would take that first step. So what does she do? Elsa grabs the hands of her 2 children and they go into the fields and sit down. And soon others did follow. I've left out in many situations. There are parts of Four Winds. They told me I only have so much time. And I'm sure each of us have our own favorite parts. One that moves us when we comprehend what did go on in our country, moves us to tears. I read Four Winds twice, trying to decide what to say. I was amazed at how much I had forgotten and how much of a woven story, historical facts, Kristin gave us. This is a crazy little part of it, but it's at towards the end, you're already starting to cry, you get all these feelings. And there's one part about friendship that I liked. Jack and Elsa are together, as it came to be. Elsa writes in her journal, she's 40 years old. They have found each other, and Elsa, along with Jack, are in love. After she writes, she says, love is the best of times. It's a dream. In the worst of times, it's a salvation. As she writes, Elsa, for the first time, takes control of a situation and says to Jack, I promised a girlfriend, she only had one, something crazy. She turns to Jack and says, I have never asked a man to dance. I know there's no music. And Jack whispered to Elsa, we are the music. Elsa closes her eyes and says, this is for you, Jean. Before Elsa leaves on her second day of the strike, as is more and more peaceful strikes, and it's now all the way down the valley. It's not just the San Joaquin Valley, it's now up in Fresno. They're trying to farm without causing trouble. They just want their wages. They want to be recognized. Again, she writes in her journal, the four winds have blown us here. People from all across the country to the very edge of this great land. And now, at last, we make our stand. Fight for what we know is right. We fight for our American dream. That will be possible again. Just be peaceful, sit down in the fields. The cotton must be picked soon. Anyone in farming knows there is a window that you get your product in. Too much rain, too much wind, ice, snow, too much sun even. Over. It's time. They know that farmers are going to have to possibly listen to them. That cotton is going to rot in the fields if it doesn't get out. Hence the reason they picked that time to do their peaceful strike. So, and now, at last, we make our stand. We're going to fight for, this is what she said, we're going to fight for what we know is right. We fight for our American dream, that it will be possible again. Their workers are few as they start their walk. About a mile out, I think it said. But every time they turn in a road, there'd be more. All of a sudden, there was 100. The next thing, there were about 400. All the workers, not all of them, but most of them, and their children, their wives, whomever. By the time they reached the area, there was probably about 1,000 of them. But unfortunately, like many strikes, trouble begins. Police arrive, vigilantes show up. All of a sudden, there's guns, bats, tear gas. Jack is beaten very badly. And he yells out, someone must speak. No more, no more. Someone must speak. And Elsa gets up on the back of the truck and she tells her story. Hope is a coin I carry, an American penny, given to me by a man I came to love. There were times in my journey when I felt it as a penny, and the hope it represented were the only things that kept me going. I came west in search of a better life, but my American dream was turned into a nightmare by poverty and hardship and greed. These past few years have been a time of things lost, jobs, homes, food. The land we loved turned on us, broke us. Even the stubborn old men who used to talk about the weather and congratulate each other on the season's bumper wheat crop. Man's got to fight out here to make a better living, they'd say to each other. A man. It was always about the men. They seemed to think it meant nothing to cook and clean and bear children and tend gardens, but we women of the Great Plains worked from sunup to sundown. We toiled on the wheat farms until we were as dry and baked as the land we loved. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I swear I can still taste the dust. Tear gas. There's a piercing sound of a gunshot. There's a word. Jack, please take my children home. It's interesting, Kristin Hanna has brought her other woman forward, Larita. She has found her voice, and now she becomes a storyteller in the end of the book. It changes in time. Larita is now 18 years old. She's smiling. She's looking back at the farm that will always be home to her. At the gravesite with Rose, she asked, "How will I ever leave her?" And Rose says, "You won't leave her. She'll never leave you." Larita says, "I'm an explorer again, made bold by hardship and strengthened by loss, going in search of something that exists only in my imagination, a life different than the one I've ever known before." And she tells us, "Hope is a coin I carry, given to me by a woman I will always love, and I hold it now as I journey west, part of the new generation of seekers. Mom, I'm going back to California. The first Martinelli to go to college, a girl. Hope. There is always hope." Thank you.
That was wonderful. I'm sure we all appreciated the historical context you developed for us, the very powerful images, and your eloquent discussion of the characters, the plot, and the theme of the book. Thank you, Barbara. Does anyone have any questions for Barbara or any comments? All right, thank you again, and we'll turn it over to Robin.
Can you just turn it for 1 second? Can you play that, huh? Yeah. Thank you. Just for a second. Picture's not there. That's okay. I can take. You don't have to play. We were just, I had the music, Westwood Wind, playing with that last thing we had to say. That's that the Westwood Wind is the wayward thing.
Yeah.
But that was my ending.
Thank you, Barbara. That's fabulous. So hopefully we will have good news for you after the 16th, and we will have a full authors luncheon on next month on Friday the 11th. So hope to see you there. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Was there a question?
Yet, no. The Nightingale was supposed to have been released as a movie in 2021, but because of everything that has gone on, they've held it back right now. But she did not mention, needless to say, she doesn't mention another one. But that grade alone is phenomenal.
So, you picked up